Hey everybody, welcome to the latest edition of the Diamond Discussion. I am your host, Demetrius Woods. The end of the summer is here, so I'm going to give you a few tips on having some good recovery. And then for those of you here in Georgia who are getting ready for your high school softball seasons, I got a few nuggets as well on having some solid pitch selection at the plate. So without further ado, let's get it started. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Excited to have you this week. It's been a little while. It's been a couple weeks actually since our last show. We had our last show with Avriana Wapnowski, which if you haven't seen that one, that was a 2-hour jam-packed one, and we covered a lot of topics, including her journey, as well as just a lot of good nuggets that hopefully can apply to your game and to your life as well. But tonight is a tip-filled show. Okay. I'm going to start us off with talking through having some really, really good recovery. I think that's really important, especially as we, all kind of winding down our travel ball seasons for most of you out there. And then even for the girls out in Georgia, which I think in a couple other states as well, you're getting ready to start your high school ball seasons right now as well. So, all with that being said, recovery is important no matter what time of year it is, honestly, but especially at the end of a grueling travel ball season, I think it's worth covering. But before we jump into that, I gotta share, man. It's been bittersweet the last few days because my travel ball team, the Elite Diamonds, we wrapped up our season last week down in Panama City Beach, Florida, at the USFA World Series. We went 500. I don't think the record necessarily reflected the way we played. I think we could have been 5-1, 4-2, whatever. But either way, we were 3-3. But regards to the record, we had a good time. We made some really good memories, and hopefully, I'd like to think that we sent our seniors off the right way in terms of having a really nice diamond, what we call a diamond gala for them, and just really wrapping up and celebrating their successes as well as the rest of our team. So really excited about where they're going. Most of them, well, actually, all of them minus one are going to play college softball. So really, really excited about that. But it is very bittersweet because when you lose a class, not only do you have to try and replace them, that's never easy a thing to do, but just the people, right? The people that you build those bonds with and you're able to connect with on a personal level, nothing beats that. So definitely been tough, but as time goes on, it gets a little bit better, and you know that they are going off and doing bigger and better things beyond the travel ball world. So, with that being said, shout out to each and every one of our seniors in the Elite Diamonds organization. Wish you guys the absolute best, as always. And of course, you're not going to get away from me too fast because I'm sure I'll end up talking about you on the show at some point here pretty soon. But all right. With that being said, I wrote down a couple of tips. All right, I might not even go through all of these with you guys today, but I want to take my time on a couple of these. And again, these tips are centered around having a really, really good recovery. And I may have hinted on some of these in previous shows, just talking about various things, but I wanted to zero in on 10 things right here for you in terms of being able to start that process of having a quality recovery. And the number one thing I think that starts with is really a solid amount of rest and sleep. I can't overestimate that because I think at the end of the day, you got to make sure that you're sleeping enough, right? That's when your body gets an opportunity to wind down. It doesn't, it's in a good state, right? And I think if you're aiming for, 7 to 9, 7 to 10 hours of sleep, I think that's a good place to be, honestly. You don't really want to go too much more than that. I know I have a lot of players who are like, hey, if I sleep too much, I feel groggy. I'm not really even, I'm dead to the world, really, even though I'm awake. You know what I mean? So beyond that, but 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep, I think is great. I feel like that's when your body truly gets an opportunity to repair itself, so to speak, right? Like if you've got any injuries, you've got any wounds, you've got soreness, sleep helps, right? Rest helps. Staying off of those wounds or injuries or what have you helps as well. But actually closing your eyes, letting your brain rest, letting your body rest, and really enter that deep sleep stage helps a lot. So rest and sleep, that's number one. Number two, I can't overstate this enough either. Hydration is big, guys. Like I don't even know, even not in the summertime. I know for me, like I don't sweat a bunch in the winter. Probably most people don't, I guess. But either way, like I know, like if I'm out of the ball field and we're at practice or what have you, like I'm not sweating a ton unless I'm getting like a really good, run in or something like that. And so because of that, like I know naturally I don't really drink as much water in the winter practices as I would in the summer practices because my brain's not telling my body that it needs it, right? But regardless of when you're playing or what climate you may be playing in, hydration is big. And honestly, it really, to me, it supports the whole body, right? Like I know it flushes out those toxins, of course, right? But I think it also supports that muscle recovery, which is great when you're trying to, get into that restful state or what have you after a long season that you may have, just endured. So I think the hydration factor, that's another one. The third one I wrote down was having proper nutrition. I think this is a stating the obvious, right? Where you've got your healthy, mix of healthy fats, right? You've got your carbs in there, you've got your proteins. You're doing all the things in the kitchen that you need to be able to do productively, hopefully, that will help you recover well, right? If you're going out and you're eating fast food, or you're jumping in on the candy and the little Debbie owl at Walmart or Kroger or Publix, whatever you may be grocery shopping, right? Probably not the best place to encourage a healthy recovery, from a nutrition standpoint. Okay, and not to say that you can't eat any of that stuff, but I think it's good to have the majority of your diet be good, solid veggies, meats. If you're a dairy person, throw that in there as well. But I think that's a big piece of it, right? Um, and I think some people have mixed feelings. I was talking to somebody the other day, actually. I'm not going to mention their name. I won't throw them under the bus. But some people have mixed feelings about fruits and veggies. All right, and let me just tell you about that. Okay, what the experience that I've had with it is that as long as it's in moderation. I think you can go overboard with the fruits sometimes. Veggies not so much. I haven't had that issue, but I know that for me, my pH balance sometimes is off if I have too much fruit. Right? If I'm going heavy on the what are those things called? The little cuties, the little small oranges. You know what I'm talking about? Right? So those are like probably if I go overboard with those, then I'm gonna feel a little bit of an imbalance there. But really, guys, a decent, fruit or two a day, or, every other day, whatever, I think is good to have in the diet. Okay. And we can get in that one later on because there's like a whole study that's been done on fruits and how it's quote not good for you, and, how it's too much or whatever. And I'm not going to go that far by any means. I think you still need to have it in your diet, but with anything, moderation is a responsible thing to do. All right. Number four, stretching, right? Encouraging the flexibility, the mobility, those type of things are good. I think if you're engaging in some type of yoga, even if it's just walking, right? Walking up and down the street, at the track, wherever you may be, in a neighborhood, safely, I think having those types of encouragements are good for the body as well, the muscles. Like you're not going out and running multiple miles a day by any means. You're not breaking up that kind of sweat. We're not in that mode. We're trying to recover. And so one of the things that I know that I do as a runner, right, when I would run a lot of miles in a day, like I would actually have a cool down period and I would walk a mile after that. And it's a very low key, like non-assuming mile. I'm not tracking anything at all. I'm just allowing my heart rate to come down a little bit, and make sure that I can now go back in and feel good about what I just did. So same thing when you're coming off of a lot of miles of travel ball, so to speak. You want to do the exact same thing with your body as you begin a recovery, and really encourage your body again with those types of exercises. I think yoga is the main place to start. Now, don't do what I did with my ball players this past spring. I gave them I think it was a nighttime yoga or something like that, and they were all like, it made them sleepy, while they're trying to do yoga in the morning or whatever. So get the right yoga that you want to have that works for you, whether it's some pre bedtime yoga or morning yoga or afternoon yoga. If you need to have some hype yoga, if that even exists, right? Whatever it may be for you, though, dig into it. And make sure that you're jumping in head first on that front. Okay, number five. This was one that I thought I didn't know if I wanted to share it with you because I felt like I didn't know if I had enough info on it. But here's the thing: I think there's also, in addition to the stretching and mobility, I think some type of active recovery is good. Walking, yes, fits in there, but if you ramp that up a little bit, maybe even some swimming, right, could help, especially while it's still warm outside in most states this time of year. Some type of swimming, the yoga can also be a part of that, light jogging, those type of things. Um, the blood flow, I think that helps a lot. That also helps, again, with the muscle recovery throughout the year that you've had. So an active workout or an active recovery helps a lot too if you've kind of got it wiggled in there a little bit or wedged in there, I guess, between the stretching and the mobility and things that like of that nature that you're doing. Now, that was number 5. Before I get on this back 5 here, I want you to understand that I'm giving you 10 things here. That doesn't mean you have to do all 10 things well. It would be ideal if you could, right? But I would encourage you to say, okay, listen, let me look at these 10 things here and where can I be better? Where am I already good at? Hopefully you're good at something already in these 10, but where can I be better? Let me emphasize that a little bit and maybe focus on 3 or 4 and then begin to add, the rest as layers onto your regimen so that you don't feel like you're bombarding your body or bombarding your brain even with a bunch of tasks. Okay? So I just want to be clear about that. All right, number 6, this is one that some of my players are like, Coach D, I'm not really into that. Some of them, they're all in. Ice baths are big, man. Like I know, so Kenzie Dias, who she's got to be on the show soon. I'll guarantee you that. But she's like, I'll do an ice bath, I guess. But there's some players out there who are like, heck no, not into it. It doesn't help, and it makes me uncomfortable. So again, I get it, right? But sometimes doing the uncomfortable thing is what's necessary for your body. And so if you're the kind of person who experiences a lot of soreness, I know when I pitched, I could go out and throw 80, 90, 100, 110 pitches in a day, which on a baseball side of things, that's a lot. And I'll come home and my body will feel just fine. Like I won't be sore at all, and I can probably go again in a couple of days. A short day's rest. So, I didn't have to really ice. I didn't. I also didn't. I probably should have. But if you're the kind of person that though experiences soreness and your muscles require a little bit of TLC to be able to get them back to where they need to be so that you can recover quicker, then I definitely encourage ice baths being a part of your regimen. If nothing else, icing the parts of the body that are most affected by whatever workout or activity you may be doing, softball, baseball related, whatever. So there's that. All right, I know people love this one. All right, I hope you love it. So I wrote this down for the Kaylee Stewarts of the world. We call her Smiley on our softball team, but massages and foam rollers. Okay, massages and foam rolling, if you will. All right, she's got this. Smiley's got this little foam roller, and her calves are like hard as a brick, right? But we'll take that foam roller, and she's like down on the floor crying as we're rolling out. And it's like rolling across a concrete, driveway or something. It's crazy. She's always so tight. That part of her muscle is so tight all the time. And so what I'm saying is that those massages, that act of just digging in, having a deep tissue, even if it's like if you're using a massage gun or if you're using if you're actually going to a masseuse or if you don't have the means to do that, get get mom or dad or brother or girlfriend, boyfriend, somebody to rub it out, really dig in right there and then, have that proper recovery after the massage as well with heat and ice or whatever the case may be. So I think a good massage though, there's nothing like that, honestly. And if you want to, bless yourself a little bit at some point, go out, save up some money and go see a masseuse for a good 60 to 90 minute, recovery on that front. So, that's number 7. Number 8 is just what you wear. I think afterwards is great as well. So I was thinking about this because when I was running cross country a lot, I would always wear a lot of compression shirts, and I know that helped my body a lot. And so I think compression gear is great. Obviously, it's good when you're playing, right? If you've got maybe like a knee injury or a calf or whatever, whatever the case may be. But like even on the recovery side of things, if you'll continue wearing those articles of clothing there, like I think that'll help you over the long haul too, because now you're training your body to kind of be prepared for that a little bit more so. And once you jump right back into probably shortly after this recovery period, especially for high schoolers here in Georgia. You're about to go jump right back into high school softball if you're not already, and you want to be able to make sure that you're good to go on that front from season to season as you begin to start new regimens and feel different types of soreness. Some of you guys are going to be jumping back into school in general, probably in the weight room a little bit more regular, and there comes different sorenesses and ailments that come with that too. So anyway, there's that. Number 9, which really should be I'm gonna make it number, yeah, it's gonna be number 9. Number 9 is more of a statement, I guess, to you. And I just wrote down here: listen to your body. And I think that's a big one, because your body is going to tell you, hey, this is what's up. This is what I need. Get it done. and like, seriously, our body is pretty blunt about that, right? It doesn't have a filter necessarily on that front, right? So I think it's important that you listen to it. If your body is hurting, if it's soreness is different than an injury. I always say that. But if you feel like your body needs a longer break than you're giving it, if it needs some more rest, if it needs any of these things on this list, more of it, then give it that, so that it can perform at its tip top shape when you need it to, right? The last thing you want to have happen is that you're in a game setting, or you're trying to be at 100%, but your body is only giving you 80, 85%, right? And if your 80 to 85% isn't enough for your team, then now you're hurting your team, and now you've got just a trickle down effect at that point, right? You want to be able to give your 100% as much as you possibly can. Therefore, having the proper recovery, listening to your body when it needs to be listened to, is a big part of that. All right. And then number 10 I got for you here before we take a break here is the mental recovery. All right. Meditation, reading, simply relaxing, um, you know, spending some time with family and friends away from the game a little bit, whatever that may look like for you, whatever your mental recovery looks like, I think that's a big one. And it may very well, aside from listening to your body, I think it's the biggest one, because our mental is such a huge part of us being an athlete. And in order for us to be the best athlete that we can possibly be, we obviously have to give our brain a break when it needs a break, but also be on when it needs to be on. And if we're not resting it in a time that it could be resting, then that means it's going to want to rest when we need it to work, if that makes any sense. So hopefully those 10 tips on good recovery, some of them or all of them, can resonate with you. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to jump into our open book segment. I know it's kind of come and gone over the last couple of months, but it is back again today for you. So I've got 3 questions from some of our really most faithful listeners. And then on the back end of that, I'm going to give us some more tips on what? What am I giving those tips on? Having a good solid approach at the plate. I think it was right. Yes, a good pitch selection. Sorry, guys, I forgot my notes here. So anyway, having good pitch selection is kind of what we'll end with on the back end of the show. But give me one quick second. I'll be right back with our open book, and we'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We're jumping right in here to our open book segment. I got 3 questions for you. First question is from Ronnie Y. First of all, Ronnie, thank you so much, man. I don't even know you from Adam, but I know that you've been watching our show a lot because of the questions that you've been asking, and even some follow-up questions. I know we've been even been messaging back and forth online. So, dude, I really, really appreciate the support of the show, and I know you've gotten a lot of it as well as your players. So good luck to you guys as you head off to your nationals event out in Indiana. So anyway, Ronnie's question here though, guys, was what are your thoughts on pickup players? And honestly, I wrote here in my notes, I hate it. That's all I put. But I'm gonna elaborate. Okay, I'm gonna elaborate. So here's why I don't like pickup players. Okay, so, and not that I don't like the actual person. Okay, I'm not saying that, but like the act of getting pickup players, it's just messy sometimes. You know what I mean? And here's why I feel that way, because for me, I like to go in to a tournament or a setting or whatever with my dogs, right? And my dogs are the players that, they're a part of the team outings, they're part of the practices, they're part of the grind, right? And so we go in together, the whole nine, like we're locked in, locked in step, right? We bring in a pickup player, and it throws off the vibe. It can throw off the vibe a little bit, and it almost feels not genuine. It feels not authentic, right? For example, and I'm not going to name the name because I really respected this individual a lot. But we're at a tournament this past week, or last week rather, down in Panama City Beach, right? And so I brought our Elite Diamonds Gold team, which is a team that I coach, and we brought our blue team down as well. And they played in a lower division than our gold team did. So anyway, lo and behold, there's this team that we were matched up. Our blue team was matched up with that was already better, right? And then they brought down, what I would say an A to. We're playing in a C division, first of all. Okay, our blue team was, and so they brought down an A level pitcher. I'm just going to call it what it is. If B would be a stretch. They brought down an A level pitcher pitching against a C level team in our blue team, right? Which I'm like, why? Why would you do that? What's the purpose of doing that, right? I mean, other than like just, the idea of trophy hunting or, I don't like it, right? If you're going to pick up somebody, it's because you really, really need it. And like your team is on the verge of not being able to play because you don't have that. And that may have been their case, right? But at the same token, like if you're going to do that, then it needs to be a comparable player to the skill set of your team, right? It makes no sense for me to go out and grab Taylor Pleasance, you know what I mean, to come play with our team this week, and then she just drops bombs every time she comes to the plate. Like that's ridiculous. Okay, so my point is that I don't like it for a number of reasons. I don't like it because a lot of times when I see it happen, it's being done to trophy hunt, for lack of a better term, or it messes up it can mess up the chemistry of a team on that day. It may hurt some feelings even, which I know some of us like coaches, we don't really care about feelings that much, but I do of my players, because it's like, listen, if this player of mine is, like I said, part of the outings, a part of the practices, a part of all the tournaments, they're part of the whole grind, and now this pickup player is, taking away reps from her or him, then that's a problem, right? Like now as a coach, you have to answer to that, or you should. You have a duty or responsibility to answer to your player who potentially may pay to play, or maybe they don't pay because they're in high school, but whatever the case may be. Like either way, my point is I don't like it. So there's my answer. Number two, this one is from Corey P. And Corey says here, do you think NIL will ever reach high school/travel softball? And my short answer is yes. It's a definite yes. I just don't know when. I don't know how long it's going to really take for it to really be a popular thing at the high school travel ball level, because our sport is still very much in its infancy in terms of growth, right? We've grown so much over the last few years. We mean the game of softball, so much over the last 3 to 4 years or so. But there's so much. We've got our ceiling is so high, and I don't know that we've reached that by any means. Like we're not even close. And so because of that, I think it's going to take a little bit, because you're not even seeing it at a high clip yet at the pro level or even the collegiate level. So I think until we start to see some traction being gained at some of like AU Pro Sports and some of the other pro leagues out there, and then in the collegiate, the Division I collegiate level, I think you're going to have to see some traction there for sure before the high school athletes, softball players rather, see a lot of that, right? Like you got, your national Gatorade Player of the Year, she's gonna get something, but like the other players out there, the other 95, 98% of the players out there, they're gonna have to really work on some type of a local level to really build that up, build that repertoire, so to speak, up to where it makes sense for businesses to really dive in headfirst, no questions asked, with high school softball players. So I think it's coming though. No doubt about that. Good question, Corey. All right, third question before we take another very, very quick break here is from Canon X, and this is from a good friend actually from college, Canon Zong. I'll mention his whole name because he said I could. But Cannon, man, we went to Georgia State University together, and we were also in a freshman class together. And so he actually found the show. I think it was maybe 3 weeks ago, I believe. And so Cannon told me that he's watched almost every episode because this is episode number 32, believe it or not. And he's watched like 20 something episodes over the last couple of weeks. And so he asked me this question, and just simple question. I felt like I should include it in here today. But he said, "What do you enjoy most about coaching?" And there's a lot of things, man, that I really really like about coaching the game of softball. But when I think about, in my heart of hearts, what I really enjoy a lot is, and my answer probably will change tomorrow, whatever. But like as I'm thinking about it at this moment, I love the idea of being able to witness somebody work on their craft behind the scenes when not really many people are looking, or just our coaching staff or just their teammates may know that they're working on something, and then it comes to fruition in a game, right? And I can think about a couple of instances where this stood out. One is Avrana Wapnowski, Wap, who we had on the show a couple of weeks ago. We worked on her catching a little bit throughout the season, and then she earned a spot on our catching staff on the back nine of our season because of it, and it was just really cool to watch that. And then on a quicker note, like Shemaya Rains, Maya, we call her Maya on our softball team as well. Like she's really worked in the weight room. She's been working on just running more, just really expanding her body to be able to handle and do more. And then batting practice, guys, like she's been just hitting nukes, really. And then this week, guys, our I think it was game 2 this past week down in Panama City Beach. She launches a torpedo to left center field off of a very good ball play, a good pitcher rather, and out of Indiana. And Maya, man, she raked that pitch, and I know that won't be her last one for sure, because she's continuing to work on her game and continuing to grow it. So I think that's one of my favorite things about coaching, is just seeing that progression will take place for people, because I'm a firm believer in growth in all facets of life. But when you see it in our game, and you see it, give it, whether it be immediate gratification or something that took, a lot of time over a long haul, either way, the behind the scenes action is a really cool thing to witness. So, anyway, hopefully that's a good answer to your question there, Cannon. And once again, man, thank you for supporting the show and diving in there. So, we are going to take one more break, okay? And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to give you 7 or 8 tips or so on just having some good pitch selection. I think this is going to be great for those of us who are about to go play some high school ball right now, and even those of us who may not, who may be done with the ball for a few months. This will be good for you too as you jump into the batting cages. And I guess I'm already jumping into the segment, but here's the thing I'll say about this before I take the break. Okay, I've got players that I know who are really really good BP players, and then it doesn't necessarily translate to the game. But that's not my point here. I also have players that are like, they're 100% free swingers in BP, but they're very very good at laying off of those same pitches in the game. That's a very dangerous thing to do. Okay, I'll just say that. Okay, so what my encouragement to you will be, my ninth nugget about good pitch selection would be, for those of you entering this phase of an off season or whatever it may be for you, as you jump into the cage, and or you taking BP on the field, getting L screen work or whatever, make sure that your BP cuts or your BP pitch selection is also good, right? Let's not swing at pitches in BP that we're probably not going to swing at in a game, because that muscle memory, those habits that you build in batting practice are going to translate into a game, and you don't want to find yourself, taking a BP giggles hack. I call it a giggles hack because it's like, ooh, you probably should have swung at that. Well, you don't want to take that hack in a game because it's not going to be funny in a game, right? So, anyway, all that to be said, we're going to take a break, and I'm going to give you some pitch selection nuggets here, and we'll wrap up what I thought you should know a moment before we close out the show. Be right back, guys. Guys, welcome back to the show one last time. Once again, always grateful for all of your support of the show, but mainly because I know that I am looking to continue to add value to your game and hopefully your life in a lot of ways. And so your feedback is always welcome. So any chance you get to DM us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you may be watching or listening, or even on Spotify, give us a 5-star, 3-star, 1-star, 4-star, 2-star rating. Doesn't really matter what it is. Just give us a star. I would greatly appreciate that. All right, so here we go. 8 tips on having some good pitch selection. This is really maybe 7 or 8 because I kind of combined a couple of them. But number one, okay, kind of stating the obvious here. Maybe it's not obvious to some of you, but know the count. Okay, know the count. That's really good. Like I've had a lot of moments where like I see players, not really ours. I feel like my players are pretty good at knowing the count, but it's like it'll be 3-0 count or a 3 something count. Okay, and then ball 4 goes by, and then like they're still standing in the plate. I'm like, what are you doing? Go to first. You know what I mean? So again, that just sometimes it happens, right? We have brain farts, but the majority of the time you should definitely know the count because in the spirit of having good pitch selection, that should determine what you may be looking for, right? Like a 0-2 count versus a 3-0 count, two totally different counts right there. Like you couldn't get further from each other, honestly. Therefore, you want to make sure that, the very next pitch that you see is one that, reflects the count, right? Like what you're going to do reflects the count, so to speak. So, anyway, knowing the count is a big one. Number two, if you have that opportunity, I would study the pitchers, okay? I know that on a typical weekend tournament, I don't bombard our travel ball players with a huge scouting report of, all of the pitchers that we may face that day and all that jazz. But for the World Series, I do. I kind of give them a little bit of taste of hopefully what they would get in college in terms of knowing the pitcher beforehand, knowing their weaknesses, knowing their go-tos, knowing their strengths and things like that. So if you have that opportunity to study the pitchers, whether it be on Game Changer or online websites, whatever. Do that. What's their go-to pitch when they have you down in the count? Right when they're up in the count, 0-2, 1-2. What's their go-to at that point? Do they go to their rise ball to get you out of here? Are they coming right back into the zone? Right? Are they throwing something off speed away? Right? What is that? What does that typical go-to pitch look like? Or do they even have a pattern? Right? Because excuse me, knowing that somebody doesn't have a pattern is a pattern, right? If you think about that, right? Like if they don't have a go-to and they just kind of do whatever they do, then that means that their pattern is craziness, right? They're all over the place. They're wild or whatever. So anyway, understanding that is a big deal. I would also say that when you're studying pitchers, understand how they grip the ball, right? Do they have any tells when they're gripping certain pitches. All right, if they're about to grip their curveball, what do their arms look like when they do that? Right? What is their glove? Does their glove move a little bit differently? Are they putting the ball on their hip differently? What does that look like? So again, any of those little small details that you can gather, and again, it's not cheating, it's not whatever, but just having those pieces to the puzzle can help you be a better hitter and have better pitch selection as well, right? Because here's the thing, guys. You're trying to hit a round ball with a round bat, and that's a very tough thing to do in all of sports, okay? So in any advantage, oh, by the way, the pitcher's probably throwing mid-50s and mid-60s and on up, right? So they're throwing this ball at you really, really fast and from a very, very short distance, and you don't have a lot of time to react. So if you can have an advantage in some way, then by all means, that's what you want to be. Okay, that's what you want to have. All right, number three, and I think I use this terminology this season more than I ever have in my career as a coach. But I told my pitchers to hunt for your pitch. I use the word hunt a lot. All right, so look for your pitch, especially early in the count. Right, if you're not a rise ball hitting girl, then there's absolutely no need for you to be looking for that early in the count, right? Because it's not your pitch. Okay, unless the situation calls for it, or if coach has that, on dead red for some reason, early in the count, different story. But your approach matters, and what you look for matters. And so you need to go hunt for your pitch and your pitch only early in the count. Again, unless the situation calls for it. And I'll jump in that here in just in this next one, because the next one here that I wrote down is understand that there is a thing called situational hitting, right? If we got first and second with nobody out, ideally we want to hit behind our runners, right? Hit the ball to the right side of the field. Hitting the ball to third base so that she can tag third and throw it to one for a double play is not the situation that we want right there. So because situational hitting matters, how does that dictate our pitch selection, you may ask, right? Well, think about it this way. If you're a right-handed batter and you wanted to hit the ball to the right side of the field, right, meaning the first base side of the field, then that simply means that we need to be looking for something on the outer half of the plate, right? If we can look for something on the outer half of the plate, get us, even if it's just a ground ball to second base, and you know you got to run that out at that point. But ground ball to second base, maybe we got first and third or even second and third, depending on how the play was made. But either way, in that case, outside pitch is going to be more conducive for us, because if she's going to throw something in on our hands, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to get that pitch off to the right side with any level of consistency. So again, back to the pitch selection piece, understand that situations matter. All right. Number 5, be patient. I think this is more of a mental thing than anything else. Being patient at the plate, understanding what you're wanting to go up there and accomplish for the team in that moment. That's not always a home run. That's not always, an extra base hit, right? Sometimes that means getting a bunt down. Sometimes that's a sac fly. Sometimes that's just a ground ball to second base. Sometimes that is a base hit, a single, whatever the case may be. And sometimes it is a home run, right? But whatever it is in that moment, you're trying to produce for your team, and therefore it requires you to sometimes to be patient. So if you need to take a pitch or two to see what you got in front of you, fine, do that. But just to make sure that you're getting the pitch that you want, right? Yeah, and I as much as I use the term hunt this year, I think second place would probably be fall in love, right? I would tell my girls, fall in love with the pitch that you want right there, because you want to make sure that if it's a pitch early in the count, and when I say early in the count, I'm saying less than 2 strikes. Okay, so a pitch early in the count right there. Let's make sure that we're falling in love with the pitch, or i.e., we're hunting for a pitch that we want, which starts with being patient and not feeling pressured into hitting a pitch that you don't actually want to hit. Okay. All right. That was number 5, right? Number 6, the last 3 we got is recognizing pitches early. So I wrote this down because I think it's good to be able to see spin, right? And I know I had a player, you guys know, Kyra Dobler. I think we may have even talked about this on the show. I can't remember, but she, for the life of her, throughout her entire high school career, didn't really see spin at all. And I think she may see it more now. Now that she's on the coaching side of things a little bit, but throughout her entire career, she didn't see spin. I'm like, what do you see right there? She's like, I don't know. She's got no clue, right? Just a ball or strike. That's it. And she was able to have success regardless. So, maybe my point isn't as valid for everybody right here, but I think being able to recognize pitches, understanding the rotation on the ball, understanding those spins, those type of things are really, really great, because that will help you ultimately be able to make a decision on whether or not that's something that you need to go after or not. If you know, right, out of her hands, the curveball and the screwball are on the same plane, but they just one bears left, one bears right, and that matters. Like if it's going to bear left away from you or bear right or whatever the case may be into you, depending on if you're a lefty or a righty batter, like at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you understand that this is what that pitch is going to do. You're recognizing that early. Now you can go with the pitch depending on what you're going to get. All right. Number 7, stay relaxed. Okay. Stay relaxed. That having that composure, that confidence. One thing I know that does for certain is that not that it necessarily intimidates a pitcher, but what it can do is that does not allow a pitcher to feel like she's intimidating you. Okay, which can be just as effective as intimidating somebody else, right? Knowing that you're not intimidated can potentially intimidate somebody else, right? But either way, being relaxed, having that cool, calm confidence about you when you step in the plate, because you know what you've got going on about yourself, you know your approach, you trust your training, all of those things, you're ready for your pitch, right? Those are big pieces right there. And so being relaxed at the plate is a great thing. On the flip side of that, if you're not relaxed, having that tension, being tight, right, keeping the muscles all tensed up, that can really have a negative effect on your swing, right, and a lot of other things from a physics standpoint as well. So I won't get into that right this second, but ultimately, stay relaxed up there. Allow yourself to breathe as much as you possibly can so that you can go up and have a quality at bat. All right. And number 8 here, as we wrap up, is be willing to adjust mid at bat. Okay. So the situation may change mid at bat. The base runners may move up a bag or two, and maybe somebody gets thrown out in the middle of your at bat because they try to steal a base, or maybe it's somebody went from second to third base, and now all you need is a sac fly to bring somebody home. Or beyond the situation, maybe the pitcher has been doing something different to you than she has every other batter in the lineup thus far. Well, fine, no big deal. You counteract that with being able to make those adjustments and go, okay, fine, I'm going to, if she's been working everybody else down in the zone, but she's going to work me up, then I'm going to still make her throw my pitch until I have 2 strikes. Now I'll make that adjustment mid at bat. Or if homeboy or homegirl behind us, the umpire that is, right, if their strike zone seems a little out of whack, right, for your at bat specifically, which that happens to all of us at some point. Well, because of that, make sure that you're willing to make those mid at bat adjustments. Don't worry about his or her zone early in the count. Still go hunt, still go fall in love with your pitch until the time comes where you've got to deal with their zone. And at that point, foul it off until you get the one you like. Be an irritant to that pitcher so that you can put yourself in the best position possible to win that battle. Okay, I'll tell you, man. Back to Smiley for a second, man. She had an incredible at bat. This past World Series, I think she had like a 10 or 11 pitch at bat. She continued to foul the ball off, and she ultimately drew a walk, I believe, in the at bat, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, she's been having a lot of those this season. I'm just really, really proud of her a lot. So, Smiley, if you're listening, very, very proud of the season you just had, and a lot of it has to do with those kind of at bats that I witnessed this past week. All right, guys. So we're wrapping up the show. I'm gonna give you guys our thought you should know moment, and our thought you should know moment today is very, very simple, as it hopefully always is. Okay, and my thought you should know moment today is to be a day maker. All right, and when I say that, I'm not trying to be cheesy or corny by any means, but be a day maker. Go out and intentionally make someone else's day with your presence, whether it be your words, whether it be your actions, a gift, whatever the case may be. Go be a day maker every day. And maybe it's not to a complete stranger, maybe it's to a loved one, right? Maybe it's to somebody who maybe needs their day to be made by you specifically. All right. So whatever you think that looks like to you guys, that's what I encourage you to do this week into the next week. But regardless, go out, do it, be intentional about it, because at the end of the day, if we're all doing that, we're all trying to be day makers for other people, then the world's definitely going to be a lot better place. So anyway, with that being said, we are going to end this show because I've been talking a lot, and my daughter's show is on deck for today, and she's ready to shoot it. So anyway, we're going to wrap the show up like we always do, guys. So please, let absolutely, positively everything you do be done in love, because at the end of the day, that is truly what makes the world go round. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.